Hey guys, it looks like the shootout at the Burgers Not Okay Corral is on. Earlier, we looked at the lawsuit that Mr. Beast filed against his virtual dining partners over the Mr. Beast Burger debacle, and they have wasted no time and have sued him. Okay, some people were commenting on that on the earlier video, and I hadn't seen it yet because it was just happening. But let's take a look at it because it's 10 times bigger and better than his lawsuit. He said he was damaged about $10 million. And they're saying they're damaged over $100 million. All right, let's get this puppy up here where you can see it. And let's see if this is well done or not. Or uncooked suit. This is filed in the Supreme Court of the state of New York. And that is just the trial court in New York. That's what they call it because it's New York. They do whatever they want. And you can see in this suit, which is not in federal courts, in state court, is the virtual dining concepts against Beast Investments and Jimmy Donaldson, who is Mr. Beast. I already told you how lawsuits work. We won't repeat it. We'll get right into this puppy. And of course, last time they made Mr. Beast look like an angel had come down from heaven to save all restaurants during the pandemic. That's his lawyers talking. I think these guys are going to paint a somewhat different picture of themselves and Mr. Beast. Let's see what the attorneys for virtual dining concepts have to say. This case is about a social media celebrity who believes his fame means that his word does not matter. Facts do not matter. And he can renege and breach his contractual obligations without consequence. He is mistaken. You're looking for justice, people. Looking for justice. Like any party to a contract, Donaldson must be held to his word and held accountable for his contractual breaches and misconduct. They're saying that he didn't do the publicity and promotional things he was supposed to do, failed to publicly support the brand, in fact, undermined it, made untruthful or misleading statements, denied access to jointly owned social media accounts, made disparaging comments, failed to form one or more jointly owned entities. How dare he? Violated non-solicitation obligations, breached the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, and tortiously interfered with their contractual relationships and prospective business advantages. Wanton conduct causing plaintiffs to suffer enormous financial harm, which later they'll say is in the 9 figures. Now, plaintiffs, they say, are pioneers of the virtual restaurant. That allows brick and mortar restaurants to utilize their excess kitchen capacity to prepare delivery-only orders for online restaurant brands, the kind of ghost kitchen concept. They operate from the same kitchen as traditional establishments and focus on menus that easily suit many restaurant kitchens without the need for new equipment. And then third-party delivery apps with Uber Eats, DoorDash, Seamless, and Grubhub deliver things to customers. So they've established several of these. Let's go. It was conceived prior to the pandemic. It was always intended to be a new vertical in the restaurant industry. The popularity surged amidst the pandemic when everyone was hiding in their basements, afraid to go outside and counting on other people to do all their work for them as they cowered in their homes and worked from home. Diners were reluctant to enter physical restaurants, were prevented from doing so by government restrictions, but they still craved restaurant-style meals. All right. So the plaintiffs, they say, approached Mr. Beast about becoming the face of a virtual restaurant brand, Mr. Beast Burger. Boy, was this a genius move on both their parts. In exchange for a share of the revenue, they say, and later a stake in the business. Later, okay. That's an interesting thing to put in this. Donaldson was already one of, if not the fastest growing digital creators globally. He amassed a loyal and extensive fan base. He did elaborate stunts in creating a persona inaccurately, as it turned out, they say, suggesting he's more interested in charity than profit. I would say maybe he's interested in both. But with 173 million reported subscribers in August 2023, he's the most subscribed individual user on YouTube. He certainly is beating this channel. All right, so in November 2020, they designed an event to launch this puppy, organizing a one-day pop-up in the town of Wilson, North Carolina, just a few miles from Donaldson's hometown of Greenville. He and his 3 closest friends gave away meals and prizes to thousands of his fans, and a line of cars appeared more than 20 miles long. Yeah, not surprised by that. Police officers had to shut down the restaurant for disrupting traffic. Yeah, that's what free stuff will do. All right. Then he put out a YouTube video that went viral, became the #1 trending video. Yeah, that's awesome. Landed in the top 5 Google searches. The Mr. Beast Burger mobile application became the most downloaded app on iTunes and Google Play. And people, this is real life. Okay. Now, they did plan to open Mr. Beast Burger in smaller select locations, but they say, Mr. Beast said, no, I want it in as many locations as possible. And that's a little different than he spun the story, isn't it? They worked diligently to comply with his demands and secured partnerships with 300 restaurants across the country. The undeniably satisfying menu was an instant hit. Yes, it featured such things as sodas and cookies, and hamburgers and fries. They were rare things that's hard to find, all put in one spot where you could easily order it, stacked on top of all the extra middlemen and stuff to have it delivered to your home from a restaurant that you don't know what it is. So why would it not be popular? But that's why Mr. Beast makes the money he does, and these people do too, because they understand the American mind. Due to the overwhelming number of orders, restaurants routinely sold out following the brand's launch. That's awesome. After 3 months, it was apparent it was extraordinary success. And Mr. Beast continued to push the plaintiffs to accelerate growth. But they were secretly scheming to exploit the leverage and renege on their agreements in an effort to seek a better, more lucrative deal, they say, of Mr. Beast. That's horrible. For example, in an effort to pressure plaintiffs into transferring to him part of their interest in Mr. Beast Burger, Mr. Beast bullied them on social media and threatened to terminate the parties' agreements if they didn't accede to his demands. In doing so, he fabricated a number of purported breaches of the parties' agreements, each which was demonstrably false. And here's where we start getting into this whole raw hamburger stuff. For example, Mr. Beast latched on to various complaints about the burgers themselves as a breach of contract. It was not. There were some complaints about these burgers, but that's customary for any burger restaurant and relatively few in number compared to the overall number of burgers sold. Every restaurant gets periodic bad reviews, the lawyers say, and every company that sells product to the public has unsatisfied customers. The reality is that the overwhelming majority of customers were highly satisfied and the product was excellent. Okay. I mean, that could be true because when you sell as many of something as they do, you're going to get some varied experiences, right? Mr. Beast Burger depended on the combined efforts of hundreds of restaurants cooking the same menu. And you can see the weakness in that as well as the strength. Plaintiffs never cooked any of the brand products themselves. Exactly. This is just marketing, people. Just marketing, but smart marketing. They put in place the underlying infrastructure. They used their restaurant industry expertise and business know-how. So yeah, they connected people who wanted to buy something with Mr. Beast's logo on it to the restaurants that could provide that food. That is definitely valuable. They're professionals with decades of restaurant and business experience. And Mr. Beast had no such background or experience. Yeah, but did these restaurant people ever count to 100,000 on a video? I doubt it. He did offer fame and a massive global platform. Yeah, that's not a minor thing. That's almost the whole thing. And if he hadn't been such an opportunist, it would have continued explosive growth. But instead of being a responsible and mature business partner, they've brought up this mature thing more than once. I don't know if they're just trying to dunk on him or if there's something actually going on behind the scenes. He wanted to lever his fame and platform against plaintiffs. Despite the fact that plaintiffs put him into the food business, he wanted to pressure them to sell all or a material portion of the burger business to him, using his massive online presence to sabotage the brand and the business. So they're saying, hey, look, we got him started. And once it got rolling, he wanted to boot us out. I don't know if that's true or not. But they said that's why he began disparaging the brand, and a slew of highly damaging social media posts quickly amplified in numerous media outlets, just as he intended. Devious Mr. Beast. You did go into business with a guy named Mr. Beast. Now, he said on June of this year, if I had the ability to close it, I would have done so a long time ago, sadly. Sometimes when you're young, you sign a shit deal. It's Mr. Beast talking. In June of this year, he tweeted in response to a follower's inquiry, I would retire it if I could, but the company I partnered with won't let me stop, even though it's terrible for my brand. Young Beast signed a bad deal. He also said this to an apparently dissatisfied customer. It's impossible to guarantee the quality of orders with virtual restaurants. Hurts my soul to see orders messed up. Sadly, I can't get out of my deal. That's why I'm never giving up control of Feastables, so I can always do what's best for my fans. Harsh lesson to learn. And of course, there is an issue with all these hundreds and eventually thousands of independent restaurants, right? Yeah. So let's see. But it was baseless and unlawful disparagement, the plaintiffs say. The burger operation reputation was materially damaged, if not destroyed. Customers abandoned the brand, and the hard-won relationships with vendors, partners, and suppliers were shattered, causing damages to plaintiffs that, according to the evidence and Donaldson's own statements regarding the value of Mr. Beast Burger, are in the 9-figure range. And sadly, his conduct has damaged the bottom lines of hundreds of restaurants across the country and around the world. Yeah, maybe so. But I mean, people are still going to eat the same amount of meals. So maybe they ate some of those there anyway. But I hear what you're saying. And they got no choice but to bring this action and enforce their contractual rights and hold him and his company liable for their unlawful conduct. Okay. But why didn't you just do that in the federal lawsuit and answer and counterclaim? This is an interesting, highly aggressive litigation tactic to file this suit like they have in the state court with the federal suit pending. It's sweet. I'd like to see some hard litigation. All right. They talk about who the companies are, and we've already talked about that. And they say Mr. Beast is a resident of the state of North Carolina, which we know. We won't go over the jurisdiction and venue. We talked about that earlier. Let's look at some of the more of the facts here. That was the preamble before. And this is, again, about linking pre-existing restaurant kitchens with virtual restaurant brands. So some restaurant down the street you think is Mr. Beast restaurant, it's actually some other kind of restaurant. And what it is, you'd have to do your own due diligence to find out. Again, not exclusive to Mr. Beast stuff. This ghost kitchen thing has gotten pretty popular with all this online delivery stuff. They're trying to create multiple faces for the same restaurant so they can get more customers, and that makes sense. Extraordinary success. Prior to the misconduct of Mr. Beast, over 1,500 locations operated in 45 states and Washington, D.C., and 200 international locations. It was expanding rapidly. And despite the overwhelming positive customer reactions and the millions of Mr. Beast burger products sold, there were, as expected and as customary, occasional complaints regarding quality, timeliness of delivery, wrong orders. Yeah, you got thousands of restaurants. You don't know these people. What are the odds they're all going to do what they're supposed to do? Whether it's occasional or not, that's a big disagreement between Mr. Beast and these people. But they say it's similar in type and quantity to what one expect on a routine basis with any restaurant. And I don't know whether that's true or not. They're going to have to sort that out, including large and reputable restaurant chains that partner with plaintiffs in preparing the products. They say customer reviews of Mr. Beast Burger met or exceeded industry averages. Maybe. One thing I do like about ordering from a restaurant, I actually know what it is. I don't get any raw chicken like in those pictures that people have shown, but whatever. 2 million orders placed on DoorDash and Uber Eats alone. Almost 70% of customer reviews included 5-star ratings. And almost half of Mr. Beast Burger customers are returning customers. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess it could sound either way. Half full, half empty. So they had an agreement, right? That they could use his celebrity and identity and likeness for mutually agreeable virtual dining restaurant brand. 4-year term. He's supposed to attend production sessions to create marketing materials, personal appearances, and social media support. And intellectual property developed for the brand would be jointly owned by his company and this virtual dining people. They're not supposed to disparage each other in the agreement. And that could be important, not necessarily good for Mr. Beast. And his mother executed this agreement as authorized representative of the company on behalf of Mr. Beast personally, pursuant to a power of attorney. So Mrs. Beast mom or whatever is the one who actually signed this stuff. But given the undeniable success of it, he negotiated to acquire an even greater interest in what he rightly concluded was an incredibly valuable venture. So then they come up with this letter agreement, and they extend the term of the thing, and they're going to form another company, and they're going to open a brick and mortar restaurant. I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but I guess it could be, depending on where you do it. But then they accuse Mr. Beast of trying to get more and to renegotiate the deal. He attempted to retrade on the agreements to obtain a larger share of the brand. Proposals unreasonable and unacceptable to the plaintiffs, hence rejected. And they say Mr. Beast was falsely accusing them of breaching it. by using selective negative customer feedback. And they say, look, it's completely false that his reputation was harmed. The burger reviews are overwhelmingly positive, and his reputation is not tarnished. In fact, in July 2023, Mr. Beast tweeted himself various metrics and stats showing that in the first half of 2023, during the period in which he claims to have been harmed, his social media exposure improved, and that he now had more than 430 million followers across all his social channels. Fastest growing YouTuber this year, doubled his average views. So, and fastest growing TikTok channel. Instagram, most growth of all social media platforms. Not bad for the first half of 2023. Can't wait to see where he's at the end of 2023. So, was he really damaged? So they're saying, look, Mr. Beast himself refuted his claim that his reputation had been tarnished by these bad reviews of the raw chicken and stuff. And they say that it was okay that they did this international trademark registration because they intended to assign these trademarks to the jointly owned company per the letter agreement. But Mr. Beast refused to finalize and block the necessary corporate paperwork to create that company. And they are ready, willing, and able to transfer those trademarks to a jointly owned company. I think the dispute here is Beast is saying that you needed my permission first. You couldn't just do it, and then we put this into a joint company. I had to give permission first. Maybe I didn't want to do that in these other countries or whatever. So you see the lawyers sparring here a little bit on how they're framing things to suggest which side is the wrong side here. But without really reading the agreement, you can't really know for sure. Let's see. All right. Mr. Beast refused to finalize paperwork, and they wouldn't agree to a permanent manager. Okay. And they say that they were falsely accused of failing to transfer shares in the business pursuant to the letter agreement, although they'd already done it in March of 2022. In an April 5th letter to Mr. Beast, the plaintiff spelled out these facts and rejected the baseless accusations. So I don't really know what's going on here. This is two sides to this story, and neither one sounds very good. Instead of refusing to withdraw the notice of breach, Mr. Beast became more aggressive, resorting to gamesmanship and various bad acts to sabotage the burger venture in violation of the parties' agreements. And here they give some examples of this. When Mr. Beast Burger was launched in Mexico and Ireland, later that day, posts were unexpectedly deleted by Donaldson's management team, and then the login credentials were changed, cutting off their access to them. So virtual dining people couldn't get into the social media anymore. And yet, Mr. Beast well knew and knows social media is the primary and essential means of promotion and communicating with fans and customers. Sales have declined since then and continue to decline. That was only the beginning of Mr. Beast's nefarious plans. Beast took an improper and malicious online swipe at the brand, saying, "This is why I'm now so focused on Feastables instead of Beast Burger. Virtual restaurants make it hard to guarantee the quality of the order. Feastables, I can actually be confident you'll get what you buy." Again, I think you can understand how these ghost kitchens, which are all kinds of restaurants all over the place, not owned and operated by anybody doing this marketing, could have a quality issue that can be hard to control versus a product that comes out of one place and you just ship it somewhere, or a restaurant you actually go into. Ironically, Mr. Beast had no qualms about promoting Feastables, his chocolate brand, which also had material quality control issues. Look at this terrible review. I purchased 6 bags of non-returnable poop. Terrible doesn't begin to describe it. They look nothing like the description. Later that day, Mr. Beast says, "If I had the ability to close it, I would have done it long ago." Or we already talked about that one. They knew this would destroy Mr. Beast Burger among his loyal and fanatical online followers. His misconduct continued. He perpetuated the rumor that the brand was closing, triggering widespread concern and confusion amongst customers, market partners, and vendors. Well, that would, right? If Mr. Beast is saying, "I want to get out of this," the restaurants would be worried. I started Mr. Beast Burger to help restaurants make more dollars during the pandemic, and it worked. But sadly, when working with 2,000 restaurants I don't own, it's impossible to guarantee order quality. I'm moving on from Mr. Beast Burger so I can focus on Feastables and making snacks. So yeah, if you were selling these things, you would read this and go, I guess we won't be doing this much longer. Somebody asked him, does this mean you're going to retire it? He said, I would if I could, but this other company won't let me do it. And then they say he continued a relentless attack on Mr. Beast Burger and virtual dining. It's impossible, blah, 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 blah. All right, we already read that one. Even though certain of these tweets were deleted, that's interesting, they were nonetheless memorialized forever in numerous online articles. And here you can see that. Fan favorite burger is discontinued. Quality control. I want to move on. Enjoy Feastables 100 times more. Mr. Beast disavows Mr. Beast Burger ghost kitchens over quality concerns. And then they get into the lawsuit here, which is a breach of one of the contracts. I guess they had two. They say they did everything. They said he didn't do the stuff he was supposed to do. Let you read it yourself if you want to read all those. And that they are entitled to recover their losses. And breach of the letter agreement. I guess that's the second letter agreement that Mr. Beast had said was too vague to even put in a lawsuit. I don't think it's in this lawsuit either. I guess we'll see at the end of it. I'm not sure. It's interesting to have these contracts that nobody's attaching to the lawsuit. But they're saying he refused to do all the things he was supposed to do. They did everything they were supposed to do. That's what you say when you're accusing the other side of breaching a contract. Breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. And that's the reverse of what he accused them of. He was pressuring them and bullying them and destroying the value of the brand because they wouldn't give in to what he wanted. He deprived them of the fruits of the letter agreement. All right. Let's see. Fourth cause of action, injunction. They want an injunction. Notwithstanding the contract's prohibition against Mr. Beast making any disparaging, false, misleading, or otherwise defamatory comments about the other party, he's used his social media platform to disparage and damage Mr. Beast Burger and virtual dining, and they lack any means from preventing him from continuing to do it. So they're going to be continuously harmed. They have no adequate remedy at law, so they're entitled to an injunction precluding Mr. Beast from disparaging Mr. Beast Burger and from enticing away, persuading, or attempted to persuade clients, customers, etc., to discontinue their relationship with Mr. Beast Burger or plaintiffs. So pretty terrible to have an ongoing brand of Mr. Beast Burger when Mr. Beast hates it, but they want him to not say he hates it, so then it can at least be a neutral Mr. Beast Burger. All right, so he's interfering with their contractual relations, and that is they've got this relationship with all these restaurants, i.e. market partners that prepare the actual product, vendors that supply them, etc. He intentionally interfered with these contractual relationships and induced them to terminate their contractual relationships when he began to tarnish the brand and entice them away, saying how terrible it was. It was knowing, wanton, and willful, and motivated by malice, wantonness, and their intent to inflict injury. So that's terrible, isn't it? That's terrible. The things they're saying about Mr. Beast. Is he really that bad? I thought he's a nice guy. So they're slam dunking him in here pretty hard. Yeah, let's see. Here's what I'm actually saying it about Beast. Damaging social media posts viewed by millions and not made in good faith to support Mr. Beast Burger, severely damaged it, etc. All the same things that we just talked about there. Declaratory judgment. So everybody wants a declaratory judgment in this thing. So the plaintiff wants a judgment declaring that they haven't breached a contract. And to the extent they did breach it, they cured any breach. And to the extent they haven't cured any breach, they have 30 days to cure such breach. And that Mr. Beast has no right to terminate the ESA. We'll see what the judge has to say about all these requests for declaratory judgments. And they want the same thing basically in a letter agreement. So that's the lawsuit against Mr. Beast. He sued them saying this thing is terrible. I want to be able to get out of it. You never paid me a single dime, which they don't address that in this lawsuit that I can see. And you've damaged my brand and cost me money in the range of about $10 million. So they turn around and sue him in state court and say, well, guess what? You cost me $100 million. Now, what do you think about that? Now, is Mr. Beast going to turn around and file another lawsuit and ask for $1 billion? I guess we'll have to wait for tomorrow to find out. So that's the Beast saga as it stands on Monday night. That's it. Thanks. Bye.